Think about the last person who really made your blood boil, the one you'd love to see lose. Now take away everything you'd use against them. No police, no courts, no laws, no boss to complain to. Just you, them, and everyone you both know, sharing the same small patch of ground with nowhere to escape to. For your ancestors, this wasn't rare. It was one of the central problems of being human. So what did they actually do with an enemy? And here's the first surprise. For most of human history, your enemy was almost never a stranger in an army. Your enemy was someone you knew, a neighbor, a cousin, someone in your own small band who you could not get away from. The problem was never really how to win a war. It was how to live beside someone you'd come to hate without the whole group tearing itself apart. Now, you've probably been handed two opposite stories about this. In one, ancient humans are savages clubbing each other constantly, life a nonstop bloodbath. In the other, they're gentle innocents, living in perfect peace until civilization corrupted them. Both are wrong. The truth sits in between, and it's far more interesting than either cartoon. Let's start with the single most common way your ancestors handled an enemy. They left. When two people in a small band couldn't stand each other, and tempers were rising toward something dangerous, the group had a release valve that we've almost forgotten. It simply split. One family packed up and walked to a different camp, joined different relatives, put miles of distance between the problem and themselves. Anthropologists call this fission. No walls, no locked doors, no restraining orders, just space. It's the deep ancestor of blocking someone's number and never speaking to them again. But before it ever got that far, there was a quieter arsenal, and it was made almost entirely of words. In a group where everyone knows everyone, your reputation is everything. So the first weapons against a difficult person weren't spears. They were gossip, mockery, and shame. The anthropologist Christopher Boehm spent years documenting how hunter-gatherers keep the peace. And again, the tools are the same. Talk about the troublemaker behind his back, ridicule him to his face, refuse to cooperate, and in the worst cases, freeze him out entirely, a punishment that, in a world where you survive as a group, could be as frightening as any weapon. Long before anyone raised a hand, the group raised its voice. But don't overcorrect into the peaceful angel story, because the violence was real. This is the part the gentle version leaves out. Ötzi, the 5,000-year-old Iceman, wasn't just frozen, he was killed, with an arrowhead lodged in his shoulder, most likely shot from behind. And at a site called Jebel Sahaba, in what's now Sudan, archaeologists found a cemetery from around 13,000 years ago, where many of the dead carry the marks of violence. It's one of the earliest strong hints of organized group conflict we have. Ancient humans were not angels. When it came, violence could be brutal and personal. So let's reconstruct an actual feud. Not a battle, a feud. Two people in a band, maybe over an insult, maybe over a partner, and the air between them is turned poisonous. In the world you know, this might escalate in private until it explodes. But in a small band, there is no private. Everyone sees it, and everyone has a stake in it, because if these two start fighting, the whole group is in danger. So people intervene. The older respected members step in and talk both sides down. The two are kept apart, given room to cool off. Maybe a gift changes hands to smooth things over. What you're watching isn't a fight, it's a de-escalation procedure, run by the entire community, because the community cannot afford to lose either person or to let the violence spread. And this points to the most powerful anti-war weapon your ancestors ever developed. It wasn't a spear, it was a relative. The best way to keep a neighboring group from becoming a deadly enemy was to tie yourself to them through marriage, through trade, through shared feasts. The Jew/Hwansi of the Kalahari have a practice the anthropologist Wiessner studied closely, called hxaro, a web of gift-giving that links people across great distances. you give knowing you can call on them one day when your own water hole runs dry. And here's the quiet genius of it. It is very hard to raid a camp when your daughter lives in it, or when the man across the fire is the trading partner who kept your family alive last drought. Your ancestors didn't just fight their enemies. They worked constantly to make sure they had fewer of them by turning outsiders into kin. So if humans had all these tools for peace, where does real war come from? Here's the twist. Large-scale, organized war doesn't look like something baked into human nature from the start. It seems to erupt when something new appears in the world, something worth fighting to control and to keep: stored food, settled land, fixed borders. When people had little to hoard and could always walk away, an enemy was a problem to be managed. But once there were surpluses to seize and homes that couldn't be moved, an enemy became something else, a rival worth destroying. War, in its organized form, may be less about ancient bloodlust and more about what farming and property gave people to fight over. This is one of the great arguments in anthropology, and it's worth knowing it's unsettled. Some researchers, like the psychologist Steven Pinker, argue that prehistoric life was extraordinarily violent, far bloodier per person than today. Others, like Douglas Fry and Fry Ferguson, counter that organized warfare is mostly recent, arriving with settlement and storage, not a feature of our deep past. The honest answer is that we don't fully know. But the evidence leans toward this. Your ancestors were capable of terrible violence and also spent enormous effort avoiding it. Now feel this in yourself. How fast the line snaps up between us and them, your team and the other team, your side and theirs. The flash of loyalty at a match, an election, even a lane of traffic. That instant sorting of the world into insiders and outsiders is ancient machinery, and it can still turn people into enemies in a heartbeat. But you inherited the other half too, the pull to smooth things over, to make peace, to find the reason that turns a rival back into a person. So think about that person one more time. The one who makes your blood boil. Your ancestors faced their version of them without any of your escape hatches, and they mostly didn't win. And they mostly didn't destroy. They managed. They cooled the fight. They kept their distance. They built the ties that made the next fight less likely. The oldest human skill isn't defeating your enemies. It's the harder, stranger art of turning enough of them into your people that the group survives. That reluctance you feel when you're forced to make peace, and the fact that somehow you usually still can, is one of the deepest reasons your species is still here at all